I would call to order the Village of Westmont Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for September 10th, 2014. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Thomas.
Here.
Commissioner Pill.
Here.
Commissioner Fidesco.
Here.
Commissioner Van Buren is here. Chairman Richard.
Here.
We have a quorum.
If you would please all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please, while you have you all standing, anybody that's going to give any testimony this evening, either for or against any item, you got to be sworn in. So if you please all raise your right hand, doesn't hurt. I swear any testimony I give this evening shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Okay, and when you do come up to speak, if you would announce your name and sign in. Also, I would request that you silence any and all electronic devices. Chairman gets very upset. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of our August 13 meeting.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, seconded by Commissioner Van Buren. Question on the motion. A roll call, please.
Commissioner Pill.
Yes.
Commissioner Fidesco.
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas.
Abstain.
Commissioner Van Buren passes. And Chairman Richard.
Yes. All right, the minutes as presented are hereby adopted. Under old business, planning and zoning item 14012. This item, 63rd Street Pathway Development Partners, has been continued to October 8th, 2014. Next item, new business. Planning and zoning item 14027, First Midwest Bank, regarding the property located at 100 East Ogden Avenue for the following. A special use permit request to operate a bank, including an accessory drive-in facility in the B2 General Business District. Item B, a special use permit request to operate a bank with on-premise ATMs in the B2 General Business District.
Casey Beck.
Good evening, sir.
Nothing's changing, just it's an existing bank, the bank that we took over, all the lanes are staying the same, ATMs, no construction's planned, anything like that for the location.
Signage changing or anything like that?
Right now we have the banner on it, I don't believe we have any plans right now to actually change the sign out as of now. We have
Remodeling, anything like that?
No, there's no more remodeling plan.
All right. Will anybody from the public speak on this issue? Seeing no hands raised, we'll close the public comment. Staff?
Staff has actually separately received the sign permit from the sign contractor, so we're working on reviewing that now. Our police department has reviewed the ATM and doesn't have any concerns about safety, and this is an existing use of this is a reuse of an existing bank, so we have no concerns.
Thank you. Let's start with Commissioner Thomas, if you would.
Looks custom made, doesn't it? Glad this space is being utilized in the same fashion it was before. And, good luck.
Thank you.
Commissioner Pill?
Which bank are you with?
It's First Midwest Bank. I actually do work for U.S. Equities Property Management Group. It manages all the
So you're
properties.
managing the property. I
Yes.
see. Now, you're not representing the bank then on this?
No, I do not work for the bank.
I see. Okay. I don't have a problem with this. Thank you.
You don't work
Commissioner
for the
Van Buren?
bank, but you're representing the bank.
Well,
is
we
that-
manage all the bank properties throughout their portfolio.
Okay. I don't have any problem.
Commissioner Fidesco?
And since it's being reused and no modifications, I don't have any issues.
Do you know if you have a monument sign out front on your bank?
Yes, there is a monument sign.
There
out
is.
front.
Does it have a address on it?
That I'm not sure.
Our new ordinance requires an
That is-
address on the monument sign.
And that has been conveyed to the sign company.
That has been conveyed? I can't,
The new sign will have that.
can't stay ahead of you, Jill. All right, that's the only question I have. Since we have a request for a variance, or I'm sorry, special use, may we have a reading of the findings of fact noted that the findings of fact will cover both special use requests.
First Midwest Bank at 100 East Ogden Avenue. Request for special uses to allow a bank with an accessory drive-in facility and on-premise ATMs in the B2 General Business District. Criteria number 1, the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the special use will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. The proposed bank will occupy an existing bank facility, will have necessary security, parking, and other amenities, and will not be detrimental to the public health or safety. Previous banks have operated for years at this location with no adverse impacts on the general welfare. Criteria 2, the special use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood. The proposed bank will replace a previous bank at this location, which has operated for years without incident. The proposed bank is located along the heavily commercial Ogden Avenue corridor, and this proposed use will not adversely affect surrounding properties. Criteria 3, the establishment of the special use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding properties for uses permitted in the district. Surrounding properties are fully developed, and this proposed bank will not adversely impact the ability of surrounding properties to redevelop. Criteria 4, adequate utilities, accessways, drainage, and/or other necessary facilities have been or are being provided. The property is currently served by necessary utilities, accessways, parking, and other necessary facilities. Criteria 5, adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress so designed as to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets. Sufficient off-street parking exists for this proposed use, and safe and sufficient curb cuts onto Ogden Avenue currently exist. Criteria 6, the special use shall in all other respects conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it is located, except as such regulations may in each instance be modified by the village board pursuant to the recommendation of the Plan Commission. The proposed use in the existing building, parking, etc. conform to all of the zoning ordinance requirements, and no variances or waivers from village codes and ordinances are sought. Criteria 7, the proposed use meets the special conditions of Special Condition 2. The proposed use is not expected to generate significant customer traffic, and sufficient off-street parking exists. The property is served by public sidewalks to provide safe pedestrian access. As such, the proposed use will not cause appreciable traffic congestion or hazard to pedestrian safety. Criteria 8, the proposed use meets the special conditions of Special Condition 8. The applicant is providing adequate security for the proposed ATMs by way of video monitoring, secure doors, and other means. The previous bank operated ATMs on this property for years without incident. The surrounding property is a prosperous, well-lit commercial area without significant crime.
If you agree with these findings, please raise your hand. The findings of fact for a special use permit request are hereby adopted. I would entertain a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Trustees under Planning and Zoning Item 14027, Item A, special use permit request to operate a bank, including an accessory drive-in facility in the B2 General Business District.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Fidesco, seconded by Commissioner Pill. Question on the motion? A roll call, please.
Commissioner Fidesco?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Pill?
Yes.
Chairman Richard?
Yes. I would entertain a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Trustees, Item B, a special use permit request to operate a bank with on-premise ATMs in the B2 General Business District.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Van Buren, seconded by Commissioner Fidesco. Question on the motion? A roll call, please.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Pill?
Yes.
Commissioner Fidesco?
Yes.
And Chairman Richard?
Yes. Okay, under advice of council, commission members, that we could recommend additional special items if there was like a flooding problem or anything like that. Is staff aware of anything like that?
No, not at this
That would have to
location.
be addressed through the special use?
We're not aware of any issues.
Not aware of anything like that? Okay. All right, sir. Well, you have our recommendation for approval, and we are only a recommending board, so staff can tell you when you go before the village board.
Okay. All right,
Thank you, sir.
Have a good night.
Next item, Planning and Zoning Item 14028, Dr. Amir Al-Hassani, regarding the property. I apologize for that, sir. The property located at 29 to 31 North Cass for the following: Item A, a zoning code variance request to reduce the number of required off-street parking stalls in the B1 Limited Business District. Item B, a special use permit request to operate a ground floor medical clinic in the B1 Limited Business District. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Mike Cody. I'm an architect. I'm the doctor's architect.
I'm Dr. Amer Al-Hassani.
I hope I
Okay.
didn't do too bad on
I'm a
that.
Dr.
What we have before you today, Dr. Al-Hassani has purchased the building at 29 through 31 North Cass and is planning to put his convenient care clinic on the first floor behind what we're proposing to be a yogurt shop. We have a yogurt shop up front, which addresses the street, and then the convenient care clinic is accessed through the common corridor at the rear. The existing Sweet and Savory restaurant, formerly La Petite Suite, will remain without any changes at the north end of the property. At the lower level, our plans are to provide a dress shop and an insurance office. We do not have tenants for those yet. However, that is our anticipation, is to seek out tenants for a dress shop and an insurance office there. We have restriped the parking lot. I'm going to throw the site plan up. I can put up the plans if we have questions and we want to refer back to them. With the parking lot, we can achieve 13 spaces, including our one required handicap space. Currently at the rear of the building, it's very underutilized. I brought a picture of the rear of the building as it exists right now. Obviously, I think we can make it a little more efficient. We're going to build a dumpster enclosure. We can stripe some spaces back there, providing for 4 additional parking places that satisfy the requirements of the code. And then the existing side lot can provide 9 spaces, which you enter off a Cass and then you exit through the alley. We've worked with the planning department. I think we've addressed the concerns of the board. Obviously, we're deficient by 31 spaces. We have plans for those spaces with employees seeking application to park elsewhere in the community. We've identified other lots in the community that are, available within 250 feet of our property, as well as we're confident that what we're going to see at our facility is a lot of traffic that's supported by other businesses. People are going to be, walking downtown. We do believe we're going to get people via the train, just people who are downtown to enjoy the evening, maybe cap off the night at the yogurt shop or what have you. So that's our intention for the site. Doctor, did you want to explain about the practice in general?
Basically, the immediate care is a primary care office that is open at clinic hours. We're anticipating hours of business from 8 to 8, Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday, 11 to 4, and we can modify that based on the demand. We take care of minor illnesses and injuries. We are community-driven. We want to provide those services to the neighborhood to avoid ER visits and be of help. We also will provide lab services, imaging such as X-rays, ultrasound, and casting and such. Basically, more community-driven. We will have about 4 exam rooms, and that would be sufficient to the place.
All right, very good. Is there anybody from the public who will speak on this, either for or against? Seeing no hands raised, we'll close the public comment. Staff, please.
As noted earlier in the presentation, the parking is underutilized, and with the restriping and use of employee parking at Metra and the nearby public parking, the applicant feels that the parking situation is viable. We've met with the doctor at his building and are more supportive of the clinic in the rear of the building to allow the yogurt shop to have a street presence along Cass Avenue, which is something that would be more recommended by the comprehensive plan. Previously, before the Economic Development Committee, the doctor proposed having the medical clinic in the basement, but feels that it'll be a better working situation for the building to have it behind on the first floor.
Thank you. Okay, let's start with Commissioner Fidesco, if you would.
My only question is as far as the number, typically in an operation like this, how many patients do you see in an average day?
To start off, it's going to be 1 to 2 an hour, probably 8 to 10 initially, and we usually don't foresee it being more than 3 an hour at most, and that's on a busy day. So that's why we're going to do the project as 4 rooms, 3 or 4 rooms for now, and we don't anticipate more than that.
Yeah, the reason I asked is because of the parking, if that's the number, it's not going to be excessive, so
Yeah.
shouldn't have an issue with the parking. Okay. And I do like the idea of it being in the back.
Yeah.
Well, good luck. I don't have any other questions.
Commissioner Van Buren?
Now, are you the only practicing physician expected to be at the facility?
Well, I am, my partner is also a physician. He's a gastroenterologist. I'm not sure if he would be practicing, but maybe part-time if any.
What's your specialty?
I'm family medicine trained and immediate care.
Okay. Okay, and will there be emergency care dispensed here for emergency type, accidents, that type of thing?
No, it's mainly minor injuries, such as sprains, strains, minor laceration and fractures. Nothing that requires heroic measures or such. If anything requires such, they would be transferred to the nearby ER.
Now, do you have another facility somewhere else?
I currently work for Morris Hospital.
Uh-huh.
It's in Shanahan, Illinois, and I've been practicing for the past 4 years of the same specialty.
Okay, and so you don't bring a clientele with you then, if you're practicing currently elsewhere, right?
Well, the way we practice, we work 12-hour shifts 3 times a week.
Uh-huh.
So the vision is for me to work the rest of the days and have a nurse practitioner or another physician with me, and down the road I would be there full-time and all the time.
Okay. Well, I like the idea of having an on-site landlord. That should be helpful to yourself as well as the other tenants that you'll have. And hopefully the parking will not be too big of a issue.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Pill?
Thank you. Yeah, just a couple of questions. So how does the insurance office fit into this?
Well, the variance, the parking variance is for the whole building, and
Part of the process is to presume some additional uses within the building. Not having a tenant nor, finished spaces down there. There are currently some finished spaces. However, it requires a little more work.
So the insurance office is in the lower level
It would be in the
of that
lower
half,
level, correct.
opposite the dress shop.
Correct. And something I failed to mention, which I think is a key component, is we are providing a handicap lift, a Lula lift. It's a limited use, limited application lift to service the lower level, to bring the building into full compliance with the Handicapped Accessibility Code. Obviously, it's an older building. We do this a lot. We have talked to Doug Gamble, who is with the Capital Development Board, who approves such uses of a limited use, limited access elevator for the building, just to provide public access down there for both the dress shop and the insurance office.
Just a minor note too, the Lula lift would be on the side opposite Sweet and Savory. It would be on the in the yogurt shop side.
Sort of behind that, to the right as you go in the hallway.
Right.
I guess I understand the layout. I'm still not, and I'll certainly wait for the rest of the commissioners to weigh in. I don't feel that this is really a downtown type of thing that, I can't think of one downtown that has a clinic like this in the middle of the downtown, and I'm not sure this is what our economic development comprehensive plan had in mind. So while I'll hold off until we actually vote, I tentatively don't support this. Thank you.
Mainly because of the use, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Commissioner Thomas?
I think the doctor wanted to
Well,
address,
Downers Grove, they have advocate clinics as a medical office and immediate care walk-in clinic. And it's located not too far from the train station as well.
I've never noticed it.
Yeah.
That is true.
Commissioner Thomas?
I don't have that big of a problem with it. It'll either work or it won't work. If it doesn't work, it won't be there, and if it does work, you'll be fine. My initial problem was with the parking. I was envisioning, until I went over and saw it, envisioning people stopping on Cass, letting people out on Cass, and that's not a good scenario, or you'll be getting more patients. But I think people can pull in on the side, even if there are cars parked there, they can still have room to drop off your patients and that, so good luck.
Thank you.
I have to echo comments and the feelings of Commissioner Pill that I really don't feel that this is apropos to our downtown business area. I do have qualifications on that. Another question I would have, is the building sprinkled
Yes.
for fire?
It is, yes, yes, it is.
And your elevator, will that have telephone access for if anybody's stuck in the elevator? I mean,
It
that's
will.
all standard.
Yes, yes, that is standard, and we have had discussions with the fire department to satisfy their requirements also.
And the number of employees that you foresee in your facility at one time?
But with the walk-in clinic, 3 at a specific shift, and for downstairs, it would be 1 employee for each space. So total, when the building at full occupancy, it would be 5.
Yes, but doctor, I meant just for your practice.
3.
Yeah, 3.
Just 3. That would serve as a receptionist and,
A nurse and a physician.
okay. And they would be qualified to operate the x-ray equipment if you have that and such?
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Since we have a request for a zoning code, any further comments,
I
please?
did have one comment that I wanted to just get it on the books here, that if for any reason in the future that the shop in front, the yogurt shop, ceases doing business, that this business cannot be expanded out to the front. That is something we can put on the special use, correct?
Correct,
And-
under
Okay.
the special use.
That's what I would like to have, and so that front space is always retail of some sort.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think that makes sense.
Any further comments, commissioners?
Just, I mean, part of my thing, I think, too, is we've got a walk-in clinic that we're putting in with 2 food-serving businesses in the same building, utilizing the same doorway, the same hallways. I don't think that's a good mix either. And while I'm not aware of the one in Downers Grove, I'm not sure there's a restaurant in the building with it.
Well, the frozen yogurt that's going to be to the street, it's going to have its own entrance. So the entrance would serve, the current entrance would serve the sweet and savory and the walk-in clinic in the back.
And the dress shop and the insurance agency.
Well, that's going to the basement. And again, this is going to be a very low volume clinic. It's not anything like an emergency room where people are waiting a few hours. The vision is to have patient in and out in 20, 25 minutes max.
I would be curious, doctor, to envision or to ask how you envision your signage for all these possible multiple businesses.
Yeah. What, we had extensive discussions with planning about signage and satisfying the requirements of the downtown code, utilizing awnings. And, you know, we have a very long frontage. Obviously, we need to fix this a little bit, but, you know, the sweet and savory is right here. We were planning to address some of the lower level uses kind of in the middle and have the yogurt shop and the convenient care clinic addressed off to the side to kind of identify the locations of the facilities also. Obviously, we have to satisfy the signage requirements with certain sizes and all, and we'll submit that as part of a separate approval process.
Okay, thank you very much.
And if I may add one thing, you know, in
Please.
what I do, you know, presenting to boards such as yourselves, we are seeing a lot more convenient care clinics. I think that's kind of the nature of our healthcare industry. It's kind of the future of what our healthcare industry is doing, is a lot more of these outpatient type clinic facilities where, you know, bigger companies are moving in to, you know, the suburban communities as well as the downtown Chicago community. Providing things just like this on a national basis. We're seeing MedSpring. We just received a MedSpring in Naperville. It's not downtown, it's on the outskirts, and they took over a whole building, a little bigger operation. But we're seeing a lot more of these come through. And I think that you're going to see a lot more of these come through also, just as part of the current trend with our healthcare industry. So just thought I'd add that.
No, I agree with you, and I think it's very good that this does occur. The only question I have, much like Commissioner Pill, is you're going into our prime commercial area. And that's if you were a little bit more on the outskirts or something away from this area, I'd welcome you with open arms. As you say, the Walgreen drugstores, can't say their name, but they have their 24-hour where you can go in and get shots and all this kind of stuff. So I envision this is coming in the future. It's just the location is what I have a problem with. Any further commission comments? Okay, if we have a request for a zoning code variance, may we have a reading of the findings of fact, please?
Dr. Amir Al-Husani at 29 to 31 North Cass requests for a variance to allow a reduction in the required off-street parking spaces. Criteria 1. The property in question cannot yield a reasonable return if permitted to be used only under the conditions allowed by the regulations in the district in which it is located. Space constraints for this developed property make it impossible for the applicant to provide additional off-street parking. These space constraints for off-street parking are generally present through the B1 Limited Business District. There is no available adjacent property to acquire for additional off-street parking. If the applicant were forced to strictly comply with the off-street parking requirements for this property, the property could not yield a reasonable return. Criteria 2. The plight of the owner is due to unique circumstances. The applicant did not create this hardship as the building in question was originally constructed with very limited off-street parking. There is no room on the property for the applicant to expand off-street parking. Criteria 3. The variation, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the locality. The surrounding area is characterized by high-density development with very limited off-street parking. Public parking exists within close proximity to the property, and the village has designated public parking spaces for employee parking. The proposed uses with this parking variance will not alter the essential character of the area.
If you agree with this, please raise your hand. Commissioner Fidesco, Van Buren, and Thomas agree. If you would disagree, please raise your hand. Commissioner Pill and Richard disagree. Findings of fact are hereby adopted by a margin of 3 to 2. Under Planning and Zoning, item 14028, item A, I would entertain a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Trustees a zoning code variance request to reduce the number of required off-street parking stalls in the B1 Limited Business District. So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Pill, seconded by Commissioner Thomas. Question on the motion? A roll call, please.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Pill?
No.
Commissioner Fidesco?
Yes.
And Chairman Richard?
No. Okay, reading of findings of fact for special use, please.
Dr. Amira Al-Husani from 29 to 31 North Cass Avenue requests for a special use to allow a ground floor medical clinic in the B1 Limited Business District. Criteria number 1, the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the special use will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. The proposed medical clinic will assist and improve the public health, safety, and welfare by providing neighborhood immediate medical care. Criteria 2, the special use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood. The proposed use will be located in a rear tenant space away from the view of shoppers and diners in the central business district. Should patients require ambulance transportation from the clinic, ambulance service will occur from the rear of the property. This proposed use will occupy an existing building and will not generate adverse noise, odors, traffic, light, or hours of operation. As such, the use will not adversely affect surrounding properties or impair property values. Criteria 3, the establishment of the special use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding property for uses permitted in the district. Surrounding property is fully developed, and the proposed use will occupy an existing building. This proposed use will not impede the redevelopment of surrounding properties. Criteria 4, adequate utilities, access ways, drainage, and/or other necessary facilities have been or are being provided. The property is currently served by adequate utilities, sidewalks, and other necessary facilities. The applicant is adding a ramp to the front entrance to improve accessibility and is restriping off-street parking spaces to provide for additional parking. Criteria 5, adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress so designed as to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets. The owner is restriping off-street parking to increase the number of available parking spaces. Sufficient public parking exists in the immediate area, and the property is served by both bus and train lines. Given the small size of the proposed medical clinic, this use is not expected to cause adverse traffic congestion. Criteria 6, the special use shall in all other respects conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it is located, except as such regulations may in each instance be modified by the village board pursuant to the recommendation of the Plan Commission. Although the applicant is seeking a parking variance for the overall property, the proposed use in all other respects conforms to the zoning ordinance regulations, and no other variances are required.
If you agree with these findings, please raise your hand. Again, Commissioner Fidesco, Van Buren, and Thomas agree, but disagree. Commissioners Bill and Richard. The findings of facts for special use are hereby adopted and approved. I would entertain a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Trustees, item B, a special use permit request to operate a ground floor medical clinic in the B1 Limited Business District.
So moved.
Commissioner Thomas, motion, and Commissioner Van Buren, second. Question on the motion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Pill?
No.
Commissioner Fidesco?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes, and Chairman Richard.
No. Okay, as concerning Commissioner Fidesco's, I would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Trustees as part of the special use permit that the medical facility will not occupy the front of the building if it does become vacant.
So moved?
Second?
Okay, motion by Commissioner Pill, seconded by Commissioner Van Buren. Any questions on that? Want to modify it at all? Please.
I want to know what they think of that, if they're willing to, not that it's going to matter.
Well, the special use really is granted for the space they're presenting. If they're going to expand the special use, they'd have to come back in for a new public hearing.
Okay,
So-
so we don't need that then.
Technically, it's not needed, but it's nice to put that in the ordinance anyhow to be sure. I put it, for example, in variance ordinances that they have to comply with the plans that they submit. So if they're restriping the parking, of course, we add that to the ordinance as well. But since there's a motion on the table,
We have to vote on
I
it.
should have a vote.
We need a vote.
Okay. Commissioner Pill?
Yes.
Commissioner Fidesco?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes?
And Chairman Richard.
Yes. All right, sirs, you have our recommendation for approval, and staff can tell you when you will go before the Board of Trustees. We are only a recommending board, so we cannot guarantee anything.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next item, planning and zoning item 14029. Commonwealth Edison regarding the property located at 389 North Cass for the following. A, special use permit request to install a telecommunication pole in the R4 General Residence District. Item B, site and landscaping plan approval to install a telecommunication pole in the R4 General Residence District.
Good evening. My name is Edison Cochio.
Good evening, sir.
So I'm representing ComEd today. We're looking to install a 60-foot pole at the substation on Cass Avenue. This is due to the need for us to increase the reliability of the grid and to provide better efficiency to the customers. So this is part of a large ComEd, a 5-year ComEd project that we're doing throughout the territory. We're doing the same kind of thing in about 245 substations throughout the territory. We're attacking about 50 substations this year, and Westmont is one of them. Initially we're looking at putting an 85-foot pole in the substation. We looked into consideration to lowering this height, and now we're looking to put in a 60-foot pole after we conducted some testing as far as signal goes. We've created a plan as far as looking at the rendering, and also a landscaping plan that was requested by the village, and I presented that as well.
All right, sir, is anybody from the public who wishes to comment on this? Please, if you would, sir, sign in and give us your name.
Unfortunately, we don't have an easel. I apologize for that.
We all have that, the audience doesn't.
Okay.
My name is Jason Fichtel. I live at 27 Melrose, which is the townhomes directly behind the substation. I was just concerned to see a plan of where that pole was going to be, since it didn't say where, so hopefully there'll be explanation that it's not going to be up against our units as the other ones were that were collapsing into the units that took months to get fixed. So hopefully this one is far away and it's not going to be too high and distract. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Will there be anybody else who will speak on this issue?
I was just going to say, no, maybe they should answer that question well.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, if we look at that plan, we're gonna be right close to them. So I'll say in the south east corner there, not so much south, but we're looking towards more of the central substation. So there is currently a steel structure there where there is transformers and some equipment in there. So we're trying to be as close as possible to that current equipment. We cannot go towards the either side of the gates because of the sewer. There is sewage in there and there is manholes. So we're trying to stay as much as towards the center of the substation.
I see. On our foldout that we have from you, could you put it on the computer so the folks at home could also see where you're planning on?
Mr. Chair, I'm George Ballrath, I'm External Affairs Manager.
Could you please go to the microphone? People at home
Nobody
cannot
at
hear you.
Our home audience cannot hear you.
Would the gentleman who just spoke, could he come up and identify on the map where he lives? Would that be helpful?
Sure.
Of course, sure.
I can show you on the picture. I don't know if I can tell you.
Okay, sure.
The easy units right here. There's 6 units right behind, and this is the one that had collapsed into the south.
Let the home audience know that the gentleman is just showing where he lives.
Okay, so it's high.
Excuse me, if you would, could you show on, so the folks at home
Sorry,
can
it's,
see?
yeah, it's the townhomes here, and it sounds like the pole's gonna be further up inside the old fenced area, which is far away.
So if we're looking at the planning here, so this is where the gate is, and then this is the common property. So we're looking at putting the pole, if I'm not mistaken, in here, which is far away from the fence. Close to existing steel structure in here, and this is the wood fence and then control building. We initially like to put it as close as possible to the substation so we can minimize work. However, there is a lot of equipment that we have on there, and we don't have that opportunity to put it there. So we're shooting towards the center of the substation.
For the home audience, would you indicate, oh, you do, on north, circle the north on there if you would.
North.
Okay, so everybody can orient themselves to it.
Sure.
Okay, very good. Any further questions? Okay, we'll close the public comment. Staff?
Our only comments are that we just wanted to make sure that there wasn't an additional room to the south to plant any additional landscaping to further screen the view of the new pole, especially if the property to the south is redeveloped. There is landscaping proposed to the north, but not to the south.
Thank you very much. Okay, we got Commissioner Thomas.
How high is the new pole?
The new pole is 60 feet high.
60 feet?
Correct.
And the old poles that are on property now are how high?
The tallest ones are 60 feet. So
60 feet, so it's the same height
Correct.
as the other poles
Right, there
there?
is, the tallest ones on there are 60 feet. There is also, there is also lower poles than 60.
Okay, so it's not going to be these poles here and then this one?
No,
Here.
we're just talking as far as elevation.
They're close to.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I have.
Commissioner Bill?
Thank you. So this pole is equal in height to the other poles, which I don't think anyone ever came to us for and got permission. They're all 60 feet.
That's correct.
Really? What is the purpose of this pole?
So this pole will be used for SCADA telemetry, so to get data from the substations for ComEd, so to look at loads and all other different data that ComEd looks in real time. So we'll be putting an antenna towards it that is going to get a signal all the way to LC3 and another substation for us. So currently, we're doing that via an analog line. However, those analog lines are very reliable due to copper infrastructure, and AT&T is cutting support from 24/7 every day to 8 to 5 Monday to Friday, so we need the reliability.
This pole, is it going to have any attachments to it, or is it just a clean running pole just like that?
It's a clean running pole, steel pole. And the reason we're going with steel structure is because it lasts longer than wood. It doesn't snap, and it could last longer as far as that goes.
Commissioner Pill, if I may, this SCADA, Security Control and Data Acquisition, is a very common, it's to how you can monitor remote facilities right up to the minute from a central viewpoint. So they can tell what's going on in the yard, loads, incoming lines, et cetera, et cetera. Any outages, they know it, they know immediately.
Yeah, I was just trying to make sure that we had accurate information. In my business dealings with ComEd over the years, I found it to be mostly inaccurate, outright lies, and basically untruthful, probably one of the worst companies I've ever dealt with. So that's why I wanted to ask a couple of extra questions to make sure that our friends at ComEd were doing what they said they were going to do. 60 feet, boy, I'm going to climb that baby and measure it.
Sure.
I don't have any other questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Van Buren?
The girth of the pole, is it essentially the same girth as the wood poles?
I believe it's a little bit bigger just because of the base and because of the soil sampling that we had to do, so the foundation that we had to do for that one, but not much bigger than.
Okay. Okay, and the antenna will just be linear, it'd be straight up?
And the antenna is just a square antenna, so it's a flat square antenna. It's not a tall antenna. So it's going to be mounted on the pole, probably not even be able to see it. It's probably by 10 by 10 square.
Okay, that's all I have.
Commissioner Fidesco?
Yeah, when I first saw this, I knew it was a communication system.
Yes.
It's not really used as part of the transmission.
Correct.
You know,
And-
so
and the
people
po-
understand this is a communications antenna
Correct.
structure. And, go ahead.
And the pole was only designed to hold just the antenna, so
Right.
there is no, it was specifically designed for that. We've designed this pole just to hold about 10 pounds and with different swaying and wind loads, so we're not going to put anything else on that.
Yeah, so your intent is only to basically transmit and receive one direction only? You're not going to put up multiple going to a different site as well, a backup site, redundant?
It's two sites.
Okay, so you are going to do
Yeah.
redundancy, okay.
Correct. There's going to be two sites. We need redundancy as well.
Yeah,
It's great for reliability. I mean, might as well do it.
yeah, okay. So that's all I wanted to point out, that it is communications, and you did say that earlier on when you first started the presentation, I don't think anybody understood that. They thought it was a pole as part of something to do with transmission, and I wanted to make sure that everybody understood.
Yes, it's for SCADA telecommunications, so.
Yeah, okay, very good. I don't have any other questions or comments.
As per your drawings, this is going to be a single mast pole, just hollow or your, okay. Why can't you locate it adjacent to your control building?
Because as you've seen here, there is a lot of transformers, other equipment on this side, and there is also under ducts, so there is cables and ducts going under to the control building. Ideally, would love to put it next to there because we don't have to do as much trenching and other work going back to the control building.
Why couldn't you put it on the north side or the west side of the building then?
On the west side of the building here,
Yeah.
I mean, it's close to the street and there is other poles there if we were to look at the drawing. So we can't have overhead obstruction. We can't be close to the lines. So we have to have some clearance from the transmission lines and distribution lines.
Is that where you've got the best clearance from your overhead lines then?
Right at the middle, if you were to look at it. If you were to look at this in here, so we're right in between the distribution.
That also takes care of the north side of the building?
We could put it close to the north side of the building. It would be, looking at our plan, we could put it close to the gate, but I don't know if you.
No, I'm talking adjacent to the building.
That is correct as well. There was interducts there.
Lines would interfere with it there. Okay.
And one of the things we try to also avoid is trying to keep it towards the fence, so we don't want to, we try to put it as close to the middle as possible, so just
Okay.
not to be an
And
obstruction.
this will strictly be limited for Commonwealth Edison Company use?
That's correct.
Okay, because I intend to ask for a resolution that, as part of the condition of the special use, that it would only be a Commonwealth Edison antenna and not a commercial cell phone tower.
That's correct.
We're just making sure. All right, since we have a request,
Mr. Chairman, I have an additional question.
please, if you would.
One other question. On your drawing that's labeled antenna mounting detail, so it's this one?
That's correct, yes.
So it looks like at the top of that, there is something mounted
Yeah, you did say.
to this pole. I thought you had said that there's nothing mounted to the pole, and that the pole is appearing like it is in this drawing, just a straight shaft.
If anything is, that's mounted on there would be grounding rods, so that antenna needs to be grounded instead of in case of lightning. There would be nothing else besides any grounding rods or a standard TI-8 Rev-G grounding standards that we are using in the telecommunication industry.
Could I make a comment?
Bill, the pole is strictly to mount the antenna too.
Right.
Well, there's
So
two,
some
there's a
sort of an
substructure.
antenna going to be on it. What form they take, I
That
don't
was
know.
my original question, and I was told there would be nothing on the pole.
No, the
So if there
antenna's
is
on the
something
pole.
going to be on the pole, what's the dimensions of the antenna that is connected to the pole?
Oh, so the antennas would be 10 by 10 squares. So there'll be
10
squares.
foot by 10 foot?
No, it would be, I would say 10 inches by 10 inches.
Okay.
And how many? How many of those?
Will be two of them. One would be directed towards the north, and then the other one would be directed towards the west.
Could
Which
I
would be
make-
towards other common substations.
Yeah, I was going to make a comment, looking at your drawing. I'm in this business as far as communications go. There's a, so Commissioner Pill understands, the center is the pole, then there's a substructure that gets mounted to the pole where that the antennas mount to. And those are probably typically around 2-inch diameter pipes. And those will be standoff pipes or brackets. And those appear to be, based on this drawing, appear to be 5 foot in length. So you have two of those mounted to the center pole and then the two antennas.
They ought to put you on a payroll. I appreciate that. Sorry, I thought I asked the question clearly.
Sorry about that.
So two 10-inch by 10-inch antennas on or around the top of the pole.
Correct.
Okay.
Commissioner Thomas, you had a question?
It was the same
The
as
same?
Commissioner.
Okay, any further comment? All right. We have a request for a special use. May we have a reading of the findings of fact, please?
ComEd at 389 North Cass Avenue, request for a special use to allow a telecommunications pole in the R4 General Residence District. Criteria 1, The establishment, maintenance, or operation of the special use will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. The property is currently improved and used for electrical utility purposes and contains multiple utility poles. The proposed telecommunications pole will pose no adverse health, safety, or other impacts on the public, and instead will improve reliability and decrease required maintenance to existing facilities. Criteria 2, the special use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood. The proposed telecommunications pole conforms with the antenna height requirements and setback requirements of the zoning ordinance. The pole is located away from public streets and behind a landscaped 6-foot fence. The pole will not emit adverse noise, light, or vibration. As such, the single pole will not adversely affect surrounding properties. Criteria 3, the establishment of the special use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding property for uses permitted in the district. The single pole will be located amidst other existing utility poles and will not affect the ability or desirability of surrounding properties to develop. Criteria 4, adequate utilities, access ways, drainage, and/or other necessary facilities have been or are being provided. The property is currently served by adequate utilities, access ways, and drainage, and the proposed pole will not impact existing drainage. Criteria 5, adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress so designed as to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets. The proposed pole will have no impact on traffic congestion or egress to the property. Criteria 6, the special use shall in all other respects conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it is located, except as such regulations may in each instance be modified by the village board pursuant to the recommendation of the Plan Commission. The proposed telecommunications pole conforms with the height setbacks and other requirements of the zoning ordinance, and no variances or waivers are sought in conjunction with this special use request.
If you agree with this, please raise your hand in agreement. Okay, all commissioners except Commissioner Pill are in agreement, disagreement? Commissioner Pill. The special use findings of fact are hereby adopted and approved for a special use. I would entertain a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Trustees under Planning and Zoning Item 14029, Item A special use permit request to install a telecommunication pole in the R4 General Business District.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Van Buren, seconded by Commissioner Thomas. A question on the motion?
Yeah, just one comment. The substation itself is a legal non-conforming use. It's been there for, as you know, forever. Never got a special use permit, probably wasn't required at the time this was constructed. Since then, any utility uses in residential areas need special uses. As a non-conforming use, it's not allowed to expand. In this case, this is a single utility pole that's going to help their communications. They are coming in for a special use permit for this pole. I don't know that you would necessarily consider this an expansion of their use, more a modification to help their facilities, but something to keep in mind. They previously had put in some utility poles without any sort of site approval or permission, and that led to the fence and landscaping getting put up. So this time, to their credit, they did come in for the special use. I guess it would be up to you to determine whether this is some sort of expansion of their use or just kind of maintenance and improvement of their existing structure.
I would make the argument, John, that by putting in the SCADA system where they can control the flow of electricity and note outages, that it would benefit the customers, which would be the residents of Westmont. So I think it would be a win-win situation for us. Personal opinion, but that's, anybody else?
I was going to say, I'm in total agreement with that, because what this does is it gets greater reliability for the problems that we've had.
No doubt, and I wasn't touching on the benefits of it whatsoever, just wanted to point out that it is a legal non-conforming use.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Discussion, may we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Pill?
No.
Commissioner Fidesco?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
And Chairman Richard?
Yes. Did you call yourself? I didn't hear you.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, under item B, I would entertain a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Trustees, item B, a site and landscaping plan approval to install a telecommunication pole in the R4 General Residence District.
So moved?
Second?
Motion by Commissioner Pill, seconded by Commissioner Van Buren. A question on the motion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Fidesco?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Pill?
No.
And Chairman Richard.
Yes. Okay, since we do have a request for a special use, I would entertain a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Trustees that the telecommunication pole be used exclusively for the benefit of Commonwealth Edison and not to hold any commercial antennas for any outside entity.
So move.
Second.
Second.
Okay. I'm sorry, who did? I got lost here.
Motion.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Van Buren, seconded by Commissioner Thomas. Question on the motion? A roll call, please.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Pill?
Yes.
Commissioner Fidesco?
Yes.
And Chairman Richard.
Yes. Okay, sirs, you have our recommendation. We are only a recommending board, though, and staff can tell you when you'll go before the committee of the whole.
Thank you.
Good luck to you. Next item. Planning and zoning item 14030, Oak Creek Capital Partners regarding the properties located at 507 64th Street, 515 64th Street, 522 64th Street, 528 64th Street, and 514 64th Street for the following. Excuse me. Item A, map amendment request to rezone 507, 515, 64th Street from R1 Single Family Detached Residence Zoning District to R3 Single Family Detached Residence Zoning District. Item B, map amendment request to rezone 514, 522, 528 64th Street from R1A Single Family Detached Residence Zoning District to R3 Single Family Detached Residence Zoning District. Item C, zoning code variance request to permit the construction of 2 homes within the side yard adjoining the street in the R3 Single Family Residential District. Item D, land development code variance request to allow the creation of 6 lots with substandard lot depth. Item E, preliminary plat of subdivision request to subdivide the subject lots into 15 buildable lots and 2 outlots. Good evening, sir.
Give me 1 second. You want me to hook up the...
You may have to swear some people in. I see. Oh, please proceed, sir. I'm sorry.
I wanted to hook up the PowerPoint presentation. Hello, my name's John Luzinski, along with my partner, John McHale, with Oak Creek Capital Partners. We're also joined today by Hubert Loftus, our engineer with Manhart Consulting, who has worked on the site civil engineering for this proposed project. Oak Creek is proposing the redevelopment of 5 parcels along 64th Street between Richmond and Ridge Avenues in Westmont. I wish I could blow this picture up bigger, but I guess I can't. Along the south side, we have or will be acquiring 2 existing parcels and subdividing into 5 single-family lots, as well as building a separate stormwater management facility. Some of the redevelopment that has occurred east of here had the stormwater management facilities as part of the rear yards. One of our goals, and actually which leads to our request on the north side for some of the variances, is the desire to have the stormwater management facilities in their own separate outlot that will ultimately be maintained by an HOA. This way, people modify the grade in the yard for landscaping or want to put a deck in, it will not affect those stormwater management facilities. One of the items in this area of the village is there are some stormwater management issues, and that's why we brought Hubert here to answer any and all questions that may come up, but also let you know we've looked at that conscientiously from the beginning. On the north side of 64th, we've acquired, or are in the process of acquiring, 3 parcels that ultimately become 10 lots, 2 of them facing directly onto 64th and 8 in the cul-de-sac. Also there, we will have a separate and distinct stormwater management outlot. One of the village's requirements is for the improvement, to extend the improvement east on 64th Street of what heretofore has occurred for the roadway improvements, extending of curb and gutter, widening the road to the 28-foot back-to-back, which we are doing across all our frontage. The village has asked us also to have the engineer prepare an estimate of cost to take that improvement roughly another 125-foot east to Richmond, because we are starting to get close to the intersection. Let's get to the next picture. This is a general location of the site. Again, we're south of 63rd between Richmond and Ridge. And that identifies the 2 properties we are acquiring. As you can see, before the economy collapsed back in 07 and 08, the pace of redevelopment was proceeding from the west to the east along 64th. And we're just continuing that expansion to the east with our proposal. Kind of show, this picture shows the site data. We are proposing 15 single-family lots. Our lots range in size from roughly 7,800 square feet up to I think it's about 11,000 square feet, and 2 separate distinct outlots that are designed using the DuPage County Stormwater Management Ordinance, which is our, best management practices, which are really created wetlands, help groundwater recharge. But we're also planning for the bypass of flows and handle some of the issues that occur in the area. Gary Weber and Associates, our land planner, our landscape architect, did do a tree preservation survey of the property as well as this landscape plan. This landscape plan represents not only the normal parkway trees that are typically seen in the development, some reforestation plans for the basins, as well as some buffers that we would like to plant along lots 1 and 2, which is the subject of the 5-foot side yard variance on lots 1 and 8. There we intend to install, I believe it's 15 evergreens to separate the rear yards from the traffic. One of the things I don't like in my neighborhood or in any neighborhood is those corner lots tend not to have a lot of privacy in the backyards. You always do wind up with some type of corner lot, so you're better off right from the get-go, plant and create some type of screening. So that's what Gary Weber, who's a very good landscape architect, was able to provide for us on the site. That was just the tree inventory. We are working on this parcel with MI Homes. They will be buying developed lots from us to build homes. They currently are planning to offer 7 floor plans ranging from 2,784 square feet to 3,800 square feet. And their typical plan offers 3 different front elevations, use of materials. Different elevations have different material mixes and options to sell that. So this just kind of gives you an idea of representative floor plans and elevations that may be bought on the from MI. Obviously, the final mix of the product will be determined by the buying public, you know, what homes they would like to buy. With that, I'll turn it over to Hugh to give a brief overview of the stormwater, how it exists today, and how we're addressing.
If I may, one question. You said
Sure.
the individual homes, so you're not going to develop, you're just developing the lots then?
We're
They're gonna be
developing
sold to
lots, and we're
contractors?
working with MI to build the homes. MI is a publicly traded home builder out of Columbus, Ohio, with local office here in Naperville. They're building in Burr Ridge, Naperville.
My question to you is, though, sir, there's no minimum requirements as per the exterior of the homes, whether they would be all brick. These could be conceivably from a brick home to a aluminum sided home.
Yes, right. I mean, that's,
Okay.
what is your standard, you know, with the standard?
That's all I wanted to know. Okay, very good.
Hugh?
Good evening. As John said, my name is Hubert Loftus. I'm a senior project manager for Manhard Consulting. We're doing the engineering and surveying for the project, and I wanted to give an overview of the existing drainage conditions for the project and also how we're going to be handling stormwater. Basically, there are 2 main drainage areas involved in the project, and they're divided by the center line of 64th Street. The north half of the project, there's a little less than an acre of drainage that comes from the 64th Street improvements that were done by the subdivision to the west a number of years ago. And there's a storm sewer that outlets into the north ditch of 64th. And then from there, the drainage continues in a ditch culvert system, taking the low flow all the way to the intersection of Richmond and 64th to the east of the property. From there, drainage goes in the west ditch line of Richmond and continues north to 63rd in Richmond, and then enters a storm sewer and continues in a easterly direction. A good portion of the north half drains in a northerly direction overland and discharges into an existing detention facility that was constructed as part of the Charleston townhome development. And that drainage also continues north to 63rd Street, enters the same storm sewer system that the Richmond ditch goes into. So that's the north half existing conditions. For the proposed conditions on the north half, we are proposing, obviously, to take all of our stormwater and direct it to the proposed detention basin you see at the northeast corner of the site. In addition to that, we're taking that drainage that comes to us from the west and the north ditch of 64th Street and picking up most of the roadway drainage from 64th, and we're going to direct that into this stormwater detention basin as well. So in the proposed condition, you're going to have a little less flow making its way to the intersection of Richmond and 64th Street. The south half, existing condition, there is a pretty good-sized area that drains from the west. You can kind of see those rear yards. Some of that drainage, about 3 acres, enters the south ditch of 64th Street and then continues to the east to Richmond and continues then north to that same outfall point at the intersection. All the water ends up at the intersection of 63rd and Richmond. There's about 7 acres of drainage that comes around and enters the southeast corner of our south property, southeast of that existing pond you see there. And that drainage continues overland. That drainage continues overland to in between 2 homes and then enters the Richmond ditch system, and then again continues north. Portions of the front half of the south property drains overland to the 64th Street ditch, and likewise continues east to Richmond and then north. In the proposed condition, we are providing stormwater detention for the entire south half, the entire 2.1 acres, and we're doing that by the front half is going to drain into the ditch system, or into the storm sewer system of 64th, and we're going to pick up some drainage that enters our site from the west, route it through our detention basin, restrict it, and then discharge that into the 64th Street ditch on the south side. The approximate 7 acres right now that drains to our east property line will be reduced by about 1 acre in the proposed condition. We'll be able to capture 1 acre of our site and bring it into our detention basin. The rest of that area we're basically leaving alone. You see the green area at the southeast corner. We're not grading that at all, and that's going to continue to be the natural drainage for the offsite area. The detention basins, as John said, are going to be naturalized basins, meeting DuPage County Stormwater Ordinance for best management practices. And they have been sized to meet the county requirements, which DuPage County, as you may know, has some of the most strict requirements in the country in terms of stormwater management. Excuse me. And that's kind of an overview. I'm here to listen to concerns and answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay. We will go to the public. Please, when you get up, announce your name and if you will sign in for us, please.
My name is Brady Sadik. I'm a homeowner in the area. Let me sign in. I live at 201 64th Street. I'm at the west end, south side of the street. A moment, let me sign in. I would humbly ask the commissioners to consider declining this in its current configuration. My first concern is that although I'm not an engineer, I can tell you from experience that I've got to think for a second because it's normally north is on the top of the map, but the south is on the top of the map. The area just above the development is an area that retains a lot of water when it rains.
I think that is north.
That is north. That is north.
North is at the top.
And on the south, all along the south. We are at the far end on the left, and I guess on the west. Sorry. I'm not a map reader by profession. And I didn't serve in the military, I'm sorry, so I didn't learn my map reading. But the drainage in that area is very poor. I happen to have a property that houses or owns a retention pond, half of one, about 100 feet by 50 feet, which runs along 64th and abuts Ridge, which is to the east. Those of you familiar with it. And only in the last year or so, we've had substantial retainage in our pond, and before that, we've not had any. So again, I'm not the expert, but I would ask you to really seriously review this. Yeah. So.
If you want to go that way. Or they could even show it better on this. Yes, there you go.
Right, so I am right here,
Okay.
this corner. And
If
this,
you could leave that up, then everybody can
Yeah,
point
yeah,
out.
yeah, no, that's fine.
in the area,
You direct me and I'll be there.
yes, that's right, right in the corner there, there's a retention pond, and that is retaining a considerable amount of water when it rains. And it drains after half a day. But the area below us running to the lot of development retains a lot of water, and I imagine some of my neighbors can speak to that. So my first concern is please review this carefully, because I'm not convinced that the drainage is going to be adequate, because I don't think it's adequate today. Secondly, simply speaking for my own personal interests and the others of my neighbors, probably about 18% in terms of property value lower than when I bought in 2005. That is my problem. However, I think that the footprint and the intensity of this footprint is going to add substantial supply to the area. I don't think that's a sustainable recommendation for our village. I believe there are 5 houses, I may be wrong, I think it's 3 or 4 or 5, on 65th that have been for sale for some time. And there are 3 new houses under construction. My question is, please consider whether that's in our best interest to build something with this kind of concentration. So I think that's probably my 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Would you like us to?
Please, if
You talk about drainage. I'll be Van.
Sure. And just specific to that, to Brady's property, that area does not drain towards us. There, a good portion of that rear yard area that I believe he's talking about that collects water, that does drain to the west, but I believe that the rear yard detention system, or the detention system that's involved with those
Why don't you show
those houses.
what drains this way?
I don't know if I can show, if you can see the mouse, probably not. You want me to point right up there?
Yeah.
These homes here drain to Ridge. These homes here drain to a detention basin that discharges and drains in that direction.
Okay,
So-
sir, we can hear you, but our home audience, can you point out on the projection there, if you would?
Yeah, if you can see it. I got a little mouse here. Sorry, it's a little hard to see. These homes south of 64th along Ridge, that they do have stormwater detention facilities that drain to Ridge. And then the homes on the north side of 64th and east of Ridge, they have a detention facility behind the homes that drains directly north to the 63rd Street storm sewer system. So both of those areas are not tributary to our project. There is, as I mentioned before, a significant amount of these rear yard areas that do drain and just clip. The drainage just enters our southeast corner of our property, and that's the area that really we're not proposing to capture. We're capturing all the stormwater that is on our development, this area here is going to continue in the same direction as it traditionally has. The one thing we are doing is reducing the total drainage area that, that leaves and enters Richmond on the south side of 64th between these two homes by about an acre.
Okay, who will speak next on this, if you would?
Good evening. My name is Yola Crucial, and I live at 515 65th Street. And I have a statement I want to read. My husband and I built our home in 2000, and our lot size is approximately 79 by 320. We're approximately 1 block behind this proposed development. I am here today to voice our opposition to the rezoning and variance request. And my opposition is based on the following. Number one is density. We're going from current density of about 1.1 homes per acre to 3.3 homes per acre. That's a pretty substantial, drastic jump. The comprehensive plan for the village requires that new construction should take into account the established character of the neighborhood so that it is compatible with existing scale. I believe this proposal ignores that. There are newly constructed homes in the neighborhood and on the same block without the small lot sizes proposed. Where is the compatibility to the new homes on the west side of this block on 64th Street and to homes on 65th, Ridge, and Richmond? Number two, I think there will be an impact to existing property values. One of the criteria that any zoning variance request has to meet is that it won't diminish the value of surrounding or adjoining properties. Smaller homes on smaller lots will diminish the value of the larger homes on the larger lots. There's just no way around that, and it will affect the character of our neighborhood. The demand for the larger lots in this area is apparent. 3 homes are currently being built in the immediate area on the larger lots. 1 on the north side of 65th, right basically across the street from my home, and 2 on Richmond, both a short walk from this proposed development. As a homeowner, I welcome new construction in my neighborhood, but I believe new construction is good for the neighborhood and for the community. But that new construction has to be in keeping with existing size, scale, and density of our established neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you wish to respond? Sure. 1 second, we'll get to you.
Some of the lots to the west are bigger, but if you net out the stormwater management facilities, the usable space is smaller. You know, that's simple math. You can look at the plat and compare it, and I can give you a summary of each and every one of those lots. You know, we're not trying to have stormwater management facilities in people's rear yards. People complain about flooding, that they don't have full use of the yards. We're creating separate, distinct outlots to be managed by the HOA, so the stormwater management facility and the integrity of that facility is maintained for everyone involved. Our stormwater management facility will help and improve the immediate area. One of our sellers is immediately to south on 65th. He built a home specifically with the idea of ultimately subdividing his yard and having a home built immediately adjacent to him. We are including in our stormwater management facility capacity for if and when he does do that the basin is sized that way. Other things on 63rd Street, yes, there are 3 homes for sale. They're all real nice. I've driven past them and I've looked them up, but 65th Street was not improved. You know, it's been, you know, resurfaced, but there's no curb and gutter, no sidewalks, all things we are bringing to the table. And we are improving the full road, our whole frontage, not just half a road like it occurs in some communities. We're doing it the whole way. We came in at the beginning, talked with the city, and said, what would you like to see? What has been the pace of development and what has been the flavor of development? You know, I know our builder is looking to start the homes in the low to mid 600,000s, going up to the mid 800,000s. You know, I think that is a compliment to the neighborhood. I mean, there are some homes that were built 10 plus or minus years ago that were valued at that point a little higher, but there's a lot of homes in that immediate area that are not anywhere near that value. You know, we're trying to provide homes, new jobs, or construction jobs in the area and be good neighbors.
Okay, thank you. Next, please. Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Lenore Adams. I live on 63rd Street, 523.
She's on 63rd. She got around Cape Cod. She's just to the next to the orange.
We've been before this board one other time when we fought to have
63rd.
them not building 3 homes on an acre. And everybody decided it was 2 homes on an acre. That is what has happened on 64th Street to the west, right? And now here we are again, and look at what we're going to get. So you're going to change the whole thing for the whole area. I live right, I don't know if this comes up over there.
Let me go back to the picture.
Well, that one doesn't show what I want to show.
That's 63rd.
Right, well, everybody knows where 63rd is.
Well, you want to,
Go back to the other picture,
which one do you want?
the one that you have up there.
Well, that is, whenever I change this,
Okay.
that's changing up there.
Okay.
You live just to the west of the condominium homes.
I'm right next door.
Yeah,
Right next door, on 63rd,
On 63rd, yeah.
Right next to
east of the
Charleston.
condominiums.
no, west.
West.
West, okay.
Right.
I know where you're at.
Just look at the brick wall.
Sorry. I didn't vote for that either.
Well, anyhow, besides this, I want to discuss all the water. And they're saying they're going to control all this water, and it's going to go into Charleston's ponds over there. They have 2 of them, or 3 of them, one in the front, one in the back, and one on the one that hasn't built yet. So we got more water and cement. All this cement is all going to go into that little retention pond. The people behind, well, I'm right there, the people next door to me, their yards always flood. And one of these lots always flooded. Had a lot of water sitting there. Because this was all farmland and there was always drainage pipes going through. So a lot of that had a lot to do with that. That has stopped moving the water because of all this building. So I just can't see all this water moving into that way from, and it does come from, what is it, Ridge. It goes, all that water used to go this way, that way, and go down our ditch. And thank God they gave us sidewalks, because we don't have that ditch anymore. I mean, it used to flood up, my house goes up on a hill, and it used to flood past my bushes and way up from the water coming from behind over here. And if you look at 63rd and Richmond, that corner there is always flooded, and it still gets flooded. Even with the sidewalks and all that water, it all floods. So, my opinion, I think it's just too much for that side of the street. And I think sticking another one in here is against what the rules are already. Because you have no yards, where no nothing. It's like they let Charleston be built. Where can they even have a deck? It's 15 feet off my property, and I let all the bushes grow to Kingdom Come over there. And they can't see me, and I can't see them. They have no light going into their houses. They have nowhere to put. They have a little grill sitting on this 5 feet that's there, which has a drainage field going through with sewers going into that little pond in the front of my house, on the side there. And that's why everything's selling in the neighborhood. My opinion.
Thank you very much. Do you care to respond?
she did remind me of the Charlestown Court condominium project, townhome project to the north, which is obviously significantly more dense than what we're proposing. Where we are sitting in relation to the neighborhood is we become a transitional use from bigger lots to a single family attached at a high density. Our stormwater management facility is going to capture our water plus the right-of-way water in 64th Street that the neighbors to the west, their basins don't manage that water. We are managing it, we are bringing it to a facility, and we're going to outlet it at a reduced rate. It's actually going to help what occurs in Charlestown today, even with their facilities not 100% built. It's going to reduce the amount of water that's going to the corner of Richmond and 63rd, as Hugh said. So it's going to help that. So incrementally, the two basins do help, significantly help the neighborhood. And that was one of the things we started with bringing in Manhart Consultant right from the get-go. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Who will be next, please? Don't be shy, come on. We don't bite.
My name is Suzanne Augustine. I live on the corner of Richmond and 64th Street. Sorry.
Richmond.
We've lived in the area for over 10 years, and part of the reason that we chose to live there was the very unique rural feel. We're well aware that we don't have curbs. I'm not sure if some of my neighbors would agree with me. We don't really care. We don't need the curbs. That is not a big bonus to us, not to me personally. While I find the water to be an issue, I think it's very clear what the neighbors feel about the water. I would like to focus on the fact that there are currently 4 homes on those properties. When we bought here, we were well aware that likely this would turn over and be redeveloped. I have no problem with that. What I have a problem with is someone coming into my neighborhood and trying to completely change how it looks and the character of the neighborhood. Don't come into where I live and tell me what is going to be great for me, that you're going to dig 2 ponds and that's going to be some kind of fantastic benefit to me, which it's going to be ponds that are going to be fields for mosquitoes. Hopefully they won't attract the geese, which, if you look on the CDC's website, the Center for Disease Control, they've talked about how they're dangerous, their feces is dangerous, and it's all over the place. And I certainly do not want to invite them into the neighborhood because thankfully right now we don't see that too much. And then my last point, I guess I would say, I would like to go back to the fact that you're talking about completely stripping this area. If it takes 5 seconds to step down our street and know the character of the neighborhood. It's rural. There are probably 70, well, maybe more, 50 plus, old trees. They're probably over 50 years old. And you're talking about coming in and stripping all of that out. And, careful, thoughtful, development would have seen that immediately and said, how could we preserve some of this? Along the curb lines, there's a stand of probably 6 beautiful pine trees that are on the parkway already, which someone else, one of my other neighbors, referenced the comprehensive plan. And perhaps the developer did not read the comprehensive plan, but it is very specific and says, since Westmont is a mature, and I'm quoting, is a mature community, new single-family development will occur as either small lot subdivisions or as tear-down infill development, which is what we're talking about. New development should be context-sensitive and compatible with the existing scale and density of the existing and established neighborhood. It also addresses parkway trees later on page 60, and it says mature trees contribute significantly to overall desirability and character of the neighborhoods and the village as a whole. It is recommended that existing parkway trees be protected and preserved to maintain the character of the neighborhoods. And then there's a gap, there's a few other things, and it says parkway trees not only improve the appearance of an area, they also increase property values and strengthen the environmental quality of a community. That is our community, that's our neighborhood. And I don't like when someone, I'm offended, I'm deeply offended that someone is gonna come in and tell me where I live, that this pond is gonna be great for me and that a curb is gonna be great for me. He does not live here. In fact, they don't even live in the area. And then my last concern would be the fact that there is no, there's no distinct plan. This is just, for the houses, I mean. There's no distinct plan for exactly what's going to be built here, other than the fact that they will all be smaller than the new homes that are being built in our area. And the last time someone came in and tried to, which was the Charleston courts, I know this board recommended against that, and they were built. The second one was never built because they can't sell the first ones, because they thought they were going to have transitional quality. It's not needed in our neighborhood. It does not fit with the character of the neighborhood, and I would kindly ask the board to help us. We have no one else but you to protect our neighborhood and to keep it the way it is. Thank you.
Miss, you are mistaken in one instance. We are only a recommending board. The people that make the decision are the village trustees. So they will decide, hopefully, listening to all of this for the best of everybody. But we're only a recommending board.
I'm aware. Thank you.
Okay, I hope you all show up at the village board meeting. I'm serious about this.
Well, can I ask? I'm sorry.
Please, if you would.
I will say, one of the mistakes that we made was when we came before this board, when the Charleston courts were built, and everyone was very happy with the outcome, and then didn't realize that we needed to be at the village meeting. How do we make sure that we're aware? Because I know legally we don't have to be notified anymore, and I want to know how we keep track of what's going on.
I'll have
Our staff can let you know when the village board meeting is.
Okay.
Also, the village board agenda is always available on the village website, so you can always pull up the agenda and read it and find out
And know when it's coming up.
when it's coming up. But the best way to be safe is to call Jill.
Okay.
And the village agenda will also tell you what is to be discussed on that evening, too.
Okay. So our neighborhood needs to check the agenda for every couple weeks, because it's every 2 weeks they meet to know what is coming forward. And can I make another clarification? Once you're done here, do they ever have to come back to you, or it automatically goes to the village board?
It automatically goes to the village board unless there is some sort of significant change in the plans that would require a new public hearing. And if that were the case, then there'd be notification again to you.
Okay, thank you.
You care to respond?
Just on the curbs, the extension and the improvement of the street and the addition of curbs, gutter, sidewalk, that's village policy that, so if there are trees where the curb line will be, that is part of the orderly improvement of the neighborhood. That is village policy, is part of the comprehensive plan. We did look at the comprehensive plan. We did meet with staff 3 times before we ever made our submittal. So I believe we have been working in good faith with good planning and taking into consideration all of the concerns in the neighborhood, from drainage, street improvements, extension of sewer and water. But I just really wanted to clarify the curbs.
Thank you. Who else will speak, please?
My name is Mary Wentland. I don't have a pen. Thank you. I've been a part of 64th Street my entire life. I grew up at 508. My husband and I built a house, raised our kids at 510. And I'm very disappointed in this plan for our neighborhood. I don't think it fits. Years ago, when the tear down started in our neighborhood, and we were here, like Suzanne said, before you, many of you went out and looked at our area, commented on how unique our area was. There was no other area in Westmont quite like ours. Big spacious lots, large mature trees. And I'm not naive enough to think that change is not going to happen. We all knew it was coming, as it did at the west end of 64th Street, where they were building large houses on spacious lots, on half-acre lots. And in my opinion, if the change is going to continue down the road, let it be for those large spacious lots for people who want to live in the rural area like we do. Let's see what we can do about saving some of those trees. It's a beautiful, beautiful area. The same thing's going on 65th Street. There's no cul-de-sacs going in there just trying to cram as many houses in as possible. I don't see the benefit to big houses on little bitty lots right in the middle of the block. And then the end of the block is going to be, eventually 3 more big houses on big, deep lots. I would really like to see the houses continue to face 64th Street as they do down on the west end. My biggest problem for myself is my property is on the north side of 64th, right next to where they plan to start the 2 little houses and the cul-de-sac or whatever, back where the drainage is going to go. When they built the houses down at the end of the street near Ridge, they were built up higher than the original lay of the land was. And for years now, my little piece of property has been getting the majority of the water. In April, there was a flood at my neighbor's house. My culvert was completely ripped up. I have had standing water in my backyard since then. When it rains, the water comes down the street and right between mine and my neighbor's house to the east of me. I didn't even cut my grass in my backyard until the last week of June because it was just always flooded. At the corner of my property, the north corner where my property meets 514, is where the drainage tiles are from when it was farmland. And I'm very concerned that when if this gets built and my little piece of drain there gets broken or filled in or whatever, the water's gonna just sit in my backyard. I'm sure that's something that's gonna be hopefully taken care of and overseen by the village, because it's really a problem. But I really would like you to consider that this does not fit in our neighborhood. Thank you.
I can't make it big enough. All right, I can't pull up Google Earth on this right now. But if you look at Google Earth, there's a big cul-de-sac right here with a bunch of properties. So
Yeah, but is there any way you can do it off of the projection?
Do you have one of those you can lay on the screen there?
Right where your pad is, there's an
Let me
overhead.
pull up my Google Earth on my iPad.
You lay one, even if you lay
Yeah,
it.
I can lay it under here. And again, on the drainage, I'll let Hugh talk about that, but it sounds like she is east of us and the water's flowing this way, unmanaged, uncontrolled. We're gonna catch it, manage it, and discharge it where it wants to go. So she should see less water. There's Google Earth. Does that show up? All right. 64th Street. There's Casey Court right here. which is our 3 lots with the stormwater management there, which is a block and a half away from this. We are not proposing anything that is not fairly, make it even bigger. There's Casey Court. All our 3 lots, very long cul-de-sac. Probably was a variance because the length looks like it's significantly longer than typical. A block and a half away from it. So it's not something that we just thought of, something totally different out of here from what has been done in the recent past in this area. Okay, and again, any question you or anyone may have on stormwater, Hugh can stay here, explain it, show you details from the stormwater management report.
Who will be next, please?
Hi. I live on 65th Street. My name is Patricia Koresh. I happen to have one of the newer homes, just like the lady before me had. And what I'm concerned about is...
May I ask you what your address is, please?
521 65th.
Thank you.
When we purchased this property, I visioned living, like someone said before, in a rural area, not having someone jam 15 homes in just a couple acres. Everyone brought up sewerage. What about parking? How many people in a house have 2 children, 2 adults, and they're teenagers? There's 4 cars to each house. Where will they park? Can you imagine the streets? I don't care what they do with the curbs. Where will the cars go? How will traffic go through? Where does the fire department go when they need to get through during a fire? With all these cars parked there. Not everyone is going to be a single person buyer of these homes. What is the purpose of putting 15 homes on a small piece of property? You can't put them in the drainage sewer. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Who will be next, please? I know some folks came in after I swore everybody in, so have you been sworn in? Okay. But if you have not been sworn in, let me know and I'll swear you in before you care to.
Okay, my name's Scott Wallace. And we're currently one of the people that people are talking about building a new house in the area. We're building currently in construction at 232 65th Street. I've been a resident of Westmont my whole life, currently living at 106 East 60th Street in Westmont, so been in the area my whole life. We built in Westmont and in this location, previously looking at other areas, but we chose this area because it's rural. We bought a half-acre lot and built on a half-acre lot because that's what we liked. I wouldn't oppose, and I don't think you hear many people opposing from the developer buying the 5 lots and building 10 houses. If he wanted to take R1, maybe to R1A, I don't think so many people would be here. But he wants to take three lots and put 15 houses on it. It doesn't fit the area. And the thing to me is, that's what he hasn't spoken to at all here. He keeps wanting to talk about stormwater, and he won't put in legal writing that he will not cause more stormwater issues in 10 years, because he wouldn't want to come take care of it. I mean, I just saw the village meeting last week of Wilmette, where I live close to on East 60th Street now, and you see the stormwater issues there from putting the small lots, big houses on the small lots. Wilmette floods. We will flood. And these houses are going to back up to us on 65th Street, and no one's going to take care of the water that's going to flow our way. And the thing to me is, if they want to build 10 houses on the 5 lots, I would have never showed up. There's no reason to build this many houses on these lots in this area. It doesn't fit the community. It's a nice 2-strip street in Westmont. You can't find it anywhere. If you look at where I'm living now, it is also on a half-acre lot, but they're very hard to find in Westmont. I would say to the community people here, I've already done it. I've already emailed the mayor. I know the mayor. I've told the mayor of this issue I see, and I think the other people in this community should try to reach out to the board and tell them they don't like this area and they don't like this idea, because when it goes to the board meeting, you want them to know. We do not like this idea. I don't think it's the right thing for the village of Westmont. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You care to
Just a couple of quick comments on some of the stormwater comments made. First, I think it was Mary who lives just due east of us on the north side of 64th Street. The drainage condition she was describing really is similar to what we saw when we were looking at the existing drainage, that under a low flow condition, water travels along the ditch through the culverts. The culverts aren't the greatest capacity, so in a heavy rain, water jumps and starts going north. And that's why we're proposing to take all the water, even the low flow, north, and greatly reduce the amount of drainage that's going down the 64th Street ditch. And that should, just by virtue of taking drainage away from that particular area, should improve her drainage condition. These rural areas with ditch culvert systems in flat areas always have drainage conditions. They weren't master planned, obviously, and that's the part of the give and take for having the larger lots. Regarding the comment on 65th Street, maybe I should clarify, none of our drainage goes to 65th Street. Drainage comes from the rear yards of these homes along 65th Street, and again, clips the southeast corner of our property, but we're not proposing to disturb any of that. We're just going to, that's going to maintain the drainage condition, and our stormwater management is going to be upstream of that. Thank you.
please, who will be next?
I haven't been sworn in. I was sitting out there.
Okay. Any testimony you give this evening shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you.
My name is Charles Ryer. Thank you. I have lived on 65th Street for at least 30 years. Live at 508 65th Street. Still have a lot that's almost an acre and a quarter. I'm a veterinarian. I moved there originally because of the lot sizes and the rural aspect. And I'd just like to echo what all these other people have said. I've seen my property value go down. I didn't want even originally all of the lots were the same size as mine. And now they've all been split, and they're just going to be split more and more all the time. It's just going to ruin the property value and also the aesthetic conditions that we have been used to. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
How do I make this bigger? All right. Right here is where we are, 64th. R3, 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 R4. Again, we're not creating something that has not been the precedence in the area. Village map.
Who else will speak on this issue, please? Come on, folks, you got a lot of year. Let's hear something.
Mary Wentland. I'm really not interested in seeing what's been done in other areas. This is our area. This is what you looked at years ago, told us was unique. It's still unique to us. It's our neighborhood. Thank you.
I haven't been sworn in yet.
I swear that any testimony I give this evening shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm John Wagner. I live at 212 64th Street, and we built our home in around June of 2002, and we have a detention area behind our 208, 212, 216, 220. And I don't believe that it was really engineered properly. At first, when it was put in, it was supposed to be smaller than what it was, and then it became bigger. We didn't really get much water at first, but then they re-engineered it, and now just recently we had these rains just recently, where we had about 4 feet of water in there, just sat there for about 2 weeks. I had to call the village at least 2 times, maybe 3 times, to get them out, take a look at it, so they could properly get it engineered. It still isn't engineered properly. We have, a couple feet of water in there right now, and it's not flowing properly to get out, so I'm very concerned about that. I'm also concerned because 63rd Street, I don't know if you remember, in April, 2013, we had heavy rain, it was flooding. We had huge issues east of Richmond towards Tennessee. It's always been a very troublesome area with the water there, so I'm very concerned about this issue here. I don't think building all these homes here and having just that detention area there is I think you're gonna have some serious problems with this issue.
Thank you very much. Do you wish to comment?
Again, you gotta refer to the professional engineers. They had adding bases. Sir, I didn't catch where you lived.
212 64th. Well, we have referred to the professional engineers, and we're having serious issues. Pardon?
Just want to understand the context.
Well, you can talk to the village, and you can come out and take a look at it yourself.
I'm just trying to get an idea where you at.
212 64th Street.
So those are the lots to the west of us, on the north side, and there's that linear basin that then drains north. Right. I can only say I didn't engineer that. I consider myself a very good engineer, and I specialize in stormwater. So that's the focus of my focus when doing projects is to get the stormwater right first. Everything else is, if you get that right, everything else falls into place. We are providing more storage than we need to. We did look at this regionally, including the downstream area along of the Charleston courts. We modeled all that, and I'm confident that the stormwater management is going to meet the ordinance and, in some cases, improve the drainage situation of the neighborhood.
Thank you.
I have to come back and say one more thing. I went through this about 10 years ago with another developer, and they developed the land west of my property. I stood on a berm which they built with a so-called detention. The detention, like the gentleman before me said, is mostly filled. It doesn't drain out. A detention is supposed to drain out and no more water. A retention retains the water. But this one never gets emptied completely. It was supposed to be maintained. It's not maintained. They built this 6 or 7 foot berm. I literally stood on top of the berm with the engineers arguing with them. They looked at me and said, what does she know? She's too old to know what she's talking about. And the same thing happens still till today. So what good was it? They put a few rocks at the bottom. They said, this will catch any water that comes down the berm. It doesn't. It doesn't.
Brady Sadik, just a point of information. The Casey Court detention pond the gentleman referred to on the map, it holds about 4 to 5 feet deep of water that drains from its corner down through the ditch down Richmond to the north to 63rd. So just for your information, when you're looking at volume of water, again, I'm not an expert, but he mentioned that pond takes pond. Yeah, it looks more like a pond, but the retention area at the corner of Casey Court and Richmond gets extremely deep, and it does appear to take the water from Casey Court. But you need to know, as a matter of just a fact, that it drains along Richmond in the ditch down to 63rd. So you have a confluence of water.
If you would come back up here again.
Yes, sir.
Casey Court, the entrance to Casey
High Ridge
Court is off of
My
Ridge.
wife's correcting me. Once again, I get nervous when I got on TV, I guess. It's, I'm sorry. Can you point it? High Ridge Court, sorry, my mistake.
No, let's just do this. This one over here, which is it's, yeah, okay. There's Ridge, there's 64.
This is Casey.
I'm
sorry, he was talking about this. This is Ridge here, right here.
So you get Richmond.
And this is High Ridge Grove. It runs north.
Let's see.
Not off of Richmond, he's off of Ridge. Casey Court's off of Ridge.
Yeah, I know.
There you go.
There's Casey Court.
Here's High Ridge.
Okay, so we're talking, where's High
This is
Ridge?
Richmond, that's Ridge, there's Casey Court. which is
Okay,
that.
High Ridge is right here.
Okay,
High Ridge, sorry. This,
so I was talking with that one.
yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Now I understand. This is a,
You and I can see.
does that show up? This corner of Richmond and High Ridge, again, I stand corrected. This is a detention pond, and it drains from this corner here and runs north along the ditch, which was retiled or re-rocked or whatever you call it, up towards 63rd up here. And I just wanted to tell you that that detention area gets extremely full. We're not talking about 2 feet. We're talking about 4 or 5 feet of water in a very large detention area, but it drains right along the street. Just for your information. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And where is that in relationship to your development?
That's here, this is the cul-de-sac I was referring to before, we're up here.
The water's running up to in that area.
Yeah. It's going south to north.
Yeah, so the drainage is, I said, I didn't go south, but the drainage along Richmond all drains in a northerly direction to 63rd Street and enters the storm sewer there. And that's, there are ditches in Richmond on both sides. And that's one of the reasons why we look to reduce the area that drains directly to Richmond, take it through our system, and drain it through the Charleston Court stormwater management system. One quick thing about Charleston Court, too, in our stormwater modeling and study, we looked at that and found that the restrictor on that basin is actually undersized for the total tributary area draining through it. So part of our proposal, I think it's like a 2-inch restrictor. So it's, from our modeling, what that does is show the basins going up and down and getting into an overflow situation more often than it really should. So how we're proposing to rectify that, in addition to the detention we're providing, is we're going to open up the restrictor from a 2-inch to about a 4-inch diameter, and that'll reduce the fluctuation within that Charleston court system, but it'll still reduce the total peak discharge entering 63rd Street. So I wanted to mention that.
Thank you. Who else will speak on this issue? Please.
I was asked by a friend of mine,
He stole your pen already.
is it your pen?
Oh, two?
Okay, my name is Benito Rosales Jr.
Just leave it up there. Yeah, leave it up there.
I'm actually from Naperville, Illinois, and basically I came over because Christine, who lives over at 508 63rd Street, or 64th Street, rather. Can't get that right. She asked me to come over and listen to what was going on over here. So that means that it would be somewhere like right about here is where she lives, next to her sister, Mary, who was up here talking. One of the things that we don't talk about here is the fact that the footprint, or having 15 or more houses in there, means that there's going to be more traffic, means there's going to be more people in the area. That means more garbage pickup and all the other types of things that need to be taken care of in here. Christine still is one of the few people that still has well water going into her home, so that you talk about all the rain off, or the rain and all the drainage. Well, she gets a lot of that going into her house, and it's drinking water. It's the stuff that she uses to wash and bathe herself. In Naperville, in my area where I live, it's Northern Highlands. It's called Goose Pimple Heights. It was the first suburb of Naperville. The Mainland Farm, which is over on Mill and Bower, and was going to be selling their property, that farm, to go over and have it rezoned also. They were going to have 108 units put over there, and the traffic was going to be increased, and there was going to be more volume of people in there. This isn't as great as that, but it's still going to be greater than what all of these people are used to having in their neighborhood. We're talking about 2 neighborhoods. It's just this area right here, this whole section here. I know you keep on bringing up the fact that there was a cul-de-sac that was brought in on, some other sections, but over here, there isn't, in this section over here, there are no cul-de-sacs in here. We're not going over there. We're talking about this neighborhood here. These are the people that are living over here in this section right here. Your cul-de-sac is over on another, it's further south. We're not talking about that. We're talking about this neighborhood over here where there are bigger lots with bigger homes in there that's being built west of where they're at, west of where you're planning to do the development. Again, you're trying to increase and put more people inside of a smaller area, that the neighborhood, and it's changing the character of what that neighborhood is going to be like. Don't do this to these people. Don't recommend it. If you don't recommend it, it's not going to go over to, or is it going to go over to the council no matter what?
It will.
It goes.
Okay. But if you don't have a recommendation for it, will they take what you have to say?
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, sir.
Okay. That's too bad. But, again, I'm just saying that, we need to have these people listen to, and I think you're hearing kind of the same thing over and over again. And forget about all the retention ponds and all that other stuff. It's their neighborhood. It's the people that they're living next to, their neighbors. They don't need to have more people coming inside of there and getting a development where it's going to change the character of the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Who else will speak, please? All of you folks here, and nobody's got anything else to say. We don't know what you're thinking unless we hear what you want to say. Nobody else? All right, we'll close the public comment. Staff?
We've had several neighbors also come into the Village Hall to ask questions and view the plans, and similar to many of the concerns that were raised tonight, most of the concerns were regarding maintaining the more rural character of the area, who the prospective home builder might be, what the building material standards would be, concerns about increase in traffic, and how stormwater would be handled. While staff has explained how detention would be handled for the proposed lots themselves, there were concerns expressed also from the other neighbors about the existing conditions that have been discussed tonight. A lot of good questions have been raised about the change in character for the neighborhood, and those should all be discussed by the commission as part of the rezoning request. Any requests for revisions from the commission can also be worked on with staff, with the developer as well.
Jill, do you want to comment on the comp plan amendment when these properties were annexed and rezoned originally? Because I think you passed that out and have an interesting piece of historical information.
Yes.
John, are you talking?
Got a lot of paperwork.
Can you pass that to Jill?
Thanks.
Or here, you know what, I can, I'm happy to. When this property was annexed, the village had the 1998 comprehensive plan, and this area, when it was annexed, resulted in an amendment to the comprehensive plan, which referenced the Highview Estates area, which I think is this area, correct? Which says, stated at the time, it's unique to other residential areas currently located in the village. The properties in this area are characterized by large estate-sized lots, 50-foot setbacks, numerous mature trees, a lack of streetlights, curb and gutters, and an overall rural feel. If properties from this area are annexed into the village, it is recommended that they are zoned R1A residential. If properties from this area are redeveloped upon annexation, it is recommended that a 50-foot setback be maintained to preserve the character of this area, and that streetlights, curbs, and gutters not be required. Now, that was back from year 2000. The village has since updated its comprehensive plan. That language no longer is part of the comprehensive plan. It's the general language that you read for all areas of the village about, keeping up with the character of an existing neighborhood. But I thought I'd read that into the record, that was the thoughts of the village board back in year 2000.
But likewise, it should be noted, John, that that is an ordinance of the village.
It was an ordinance that amended the comprehensive plan.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah. And then the comprehensive plan was since completely rewritten.
Maybe we need to reintroduce it. Okay, very good. Let's start with Commissioner Fidesco, if you would.
Okay, where do I start? I want to basically start by saying I apologize to the residents because I was part of the problem.
I want to set some ground rules here first. The commissioners are going to discuss amongst themselves. I don't think any commissioner is going to be looking for any input unless a specific question is, unless a commissioner asks a specific question of an individual. But other than that, as I foresee this, I want the commissioners to freely discuss amongst themselves, and then we'll get, you ask anybody any question you want in the audience.
Oh, I was going to make a comment.
Please do.
And it's because I don't want to make the same mistake. At least I'm in a different position at this point. I was on the village board that actually allowed that Charleston court to go in, and I apologize because that is one of the biggest mistakes. After it was completed, I went by and said, this is not what was really presented to us. It was just, that was, was part of the problem, and I don't want to see something like that happen again. So with that said, with this specific offer on the table, if you want to call it an offer, it comes in and it just disregards what's there. You're putting 10 pounds of sand in a 5-pound bucket, it doesn't hold it. It's not going to work. I agree with many of the comments that were made, if not all of the comments, that the character of the neighborhood is such that they are large lots, houses, set back off the roadway. It's really a nice neighborhood. And the one individual who came up and said, yeah, I wouldn't have a real problem with 10 homes, actually got a piece of paper right here, and that's what I calculated. I took their little sketch that they had, not with the fine, details, but I took the detailed map, which had the footages, calculated, you could put 4 lots on the south side, 6 lots on the north side in the same type of configuration, and that would fall into the R1A. That's the most that should be done there. Putting a cul-de-sac in the middle of a block doesn't make sense. The Casey Court cul-de-sac that was made, referenced by the developer, comes off a ridge, which is a major roadway in that particular area. The north-south streets get a lot more traffic than the east-west streets. North-south streets are connector streets. If you go down Ridge, you can go from 63rd to 67th. There's traffic lights at 63rd and 67th at Cass Avenue. That's a major thoroughfare in that neighborhood. That gives ingress and egress. If you look at 64th, in that particular area, it goes 1 block. You don't want to put a cul-de-sac in the middle of the block. I'm not for this. I'm just, making my comments known. I don't even have any questions for the developer because I think it's totally inappropriate for the area. Period. So that's all I have to say.
Commissioner Van Buren?
In going through the site, I immediately blanked out the idea of a cul-de-sac. The most that could possibly be salvaged of this plan as we look at it is on the south side of 64th, where there are 5 lots. If they were reduced to 4, we could retain our R1A zoning, and it would be consistent with the homes that are toward the west end of 64. On the cul-de-sac, in my mind, is not there. Again, I didn't want to talk about the water. I'm just talking about what's there and what should be there. And I know that there are some water problems that'll have to be handled in another way, but certainly I wouldn't recommend it handling it this way. That's all I have.
Commissioner Pill?
I pretty much agree. I just would like to point out that typically in projects, when we see engineering come in, we do see a reduction in stormwater issues. And I think several surrounding properties would benefit from stormwater that's done on any other properties that are adjacent to them. However, I can't support the 15. This is way too dense and is not in keeping with the area. And I don't think it's the right thing to do.
Commissioner Thomas?
It does seem to be a lot of buildings, although you have these new developments come in under these water retention rules that they must adhere to, which were not in place, I don't believe, when a lot of these other properties who are having water problems had to adhere to. So they have water problems, and there's no denying that you have water problems. The same rules may not have been in place at the time or whatever. But just development for sake of development doesn't have to be negative. Although 15 seems to be. If they have larger houses and no water detention and less houses, you're going to have flooding. If you have smaller houses and the water detention, there has to be a happy medium here. I do believe that the design and the amount of houses has to be looked at and adjusted here, just as far as the neighborhood goes. Now, every neighborhood's going to be developed. You can't, granted, it's beautiful and it's rural. You cannot guarantee infinity, that it will go on forever like that and never be developed. But there has to be some care on every development in which we have looked at, so that now that when a developer comes in, Westmont is known for the water problems and that, and they've been addressed, they've been handcuffed, or whatever way you want to look at it. You have to deal with the water on your property that you're developing. And that's, but I do, that's on one hand. On the other hand, I think there's too many houses here being requested. That's all I got.
Thank you. If I have a question for the petitioner on the two water retention basins, who will maintain them?
There'll be maintenance standards and there'll be an HOA, so these homeowners will maintain those basins. So it's not in somebody's backyard, and those homeowners don't have to maintain their portion of a larger basin.
Well, then, do you envision plat survey? Is that going to break out the
Yeah, those are
retention lots
separate,
as a separate?
they're separate lots.
Okay, and then do you envision a homeowners association will collect fees and they'll hire somebody under
Yeah.
contract to maintain these?
Generally, that's what happens in these created wetland-type basins. The maintenance is fairly limited to cutting twice a year. I think about every 3 years you need to burn the native plant materials, but that is basically the standard that has been adopted in most of the six-county area for stormwater management facilities over the last 10 to 15 years.
But you would set the standards for length of time? I mean, when you set up the lots and the HOA, that you'll say, cut 2 to 3 times a year, burn every 3 years?
They'll be in as part of the documents, as part of the final engineering plans, final landscape plans. There are standards that the environmental scientists, the engineers, agree to what our best practices. I'm not going to say 2 times or 3 times. Somebody that is more qualified than I would be maintaining it.
What I mean is there are standards out there? that
Yes,
delineate
there are
this?
generally accepted standards.
Okay, thank you very much. My fellow commissioners have pretty well said everything that I had. Looking at this, there's no way that I could even, in good faith, endorse this cul-de-sac, nor the amount of homes. This is a rural community amongst a municipality. I don't know, it was about 10 years ago, where we had a very lengthy meeting to even come up with R1A. We did an awful lot of work on it, and a lot of people at the time were very concerned about all of the subdividing of the lots. And so the thing we came up with was R1A, a minimum standard. And this, as far as I'm concerned, just blows R1A completely out of the ballpark. There is no way I could do this whatsoever. Now, if I may ask you a question. If you could go with 4 homes on the south side of 64th Street, which would be R1A, 6 homes on the north side of 64th Street, which would be 1A, could you still make money?
I would have to confer with staff and just understand.
Well, the reason I'm asking this question is, one of the requirements for a variance is not strictly to make money.
Oh, I understand that.
And you want to make money by cramming as much in as possible, and to be quite honest with you, sir, I think you fail the criteria for a variance. My opinion.
No.
It's strictly my opinion.
All right. Again, like I said, we worked with staff. We would seriously consider R1A, but to give you a straight, honest answer, I would have to double-check some of the required improvements and how they affect a revised plan. I would clearly not say R1A is not something we would seriously consider. I just got to do my homework and, like we thought we did here, working with staff, and I would come back and honestly answer that. You can't rule that out.
Okay.
And I would say that if this was something that you were to consider, one of the benefits of having one developer develop a large parcel at once, we can do a lot with the control of the stormwater.
Right. Exactly.
Whereas if you have one by one by one and they're all spec'd or they're individually built and they probably put cash in lieu of or something like this, if it were to be developed properly within the context of the R1A, we could have both ways. We could have some solution of the water problems and also continue to maintain the character of the neighborhood.
If it were the wish of the commission, and, if you would postpone us, we can go back, look at that, come back to your next meeting, either with a revised plan saying we can do that, instead of saying we can do it or can't do it today. I don't want to mislead you one way or the other.
Unless there's a time constraint, I have no problem whatsoever asking my fellow commissioners if...
Joe makes the time up.
No, it depends as to how your contracts read, sir.
Yeah.
Would you
We
be amenable?
planned for an approval period accordingly. We got, quite frankly, the Plan Commission quicker than we anticipated. And, spending another 30 days working with staff is something I think would benefit both parties.
Would you be amenable then if we entertained a motion to table this to October at least?
Or November.
Or November, whichever would be better for you.
Trust me, I can make decisions fast. I'll have something figured out by the end of the week. So I prefer to come back in October if at all possible. I mean, Jill's just going to tell me when I got to get resubmittal stuff, and we'll get with her before the end of the week.
I can tell you this right now, if your 6 lots on the north side of 64th would not meet R1A, I could, in my own, to keep the character of the neighborhood, I could probably okay a variance for myself. I could vote for a small variance, not large, small.
All right, no, that's understood. Let us go back and do some work, all right? And we'll come back.
Okay, but it's our strong desire, as far as I'm concerned, I think my fellow board members want to see this at the very least, keep the north side of 64th Street R1A, and at the very least, rezone the south side of 64th Street from R1 to R1A. R1 to R1A.
I think you were unanimous in your discussion. R1A was kind of the hurdle you're setting for us. You just
It's the
mentioned
impression I got from listening to everybody.
I concur with that impression. I think everyone in the room got that same impression.
All right, I would entertain a motion to...
Chairman,
Yes.
can I ask a quick question? I'm not sure with the outlots, if they can meet the R1A requirements, the size requirements, if they took your request into consideration and did 6 on the north side and 4 on the south, but still had R3 zoning, would that be appropriate, or would you want to keep the
R3.
zoning?
John, could you help us, sir?
Well, I think they're going to have to work it out.
Right.
The outlot could be a long, narrow outlot on the rear of the properties. I think they have to see what they can design.
Yeah, you got the depth becomes a question if you're going to do a
Right.
rectangular outlot.
Yeah.
What's the minimum depth on the R1A? It's...
125.
I think they're all 125. I'm concerned about size and width.
All right, so we like in the south, we're just narrower. But the depth there, we did 150.
Right.
So we got to have Hugh look at the basin on the north and what we can do.
Here's my question with coming back in October, which would be great if we can make it work. It's going to take you a week to run your numbers, look at some plan options, and give a go-ahead to your design professionals to draft up a new plan.
He's going back to work right now.
Time to engineer, et cetera. Let's say best case scenario, 2 weeks, all that's done, all the calculations are done, submit it into the village engineer and Jill. Can you get it reviewed in?
The problem is getting it to the paper.
Yeah,
That's what I'm concerned about is the rezoning.
I thought we probably
Yeah.
better
Notice
put
correct.
Do you got to repost it if it's a continuation of the hearing?
Well, you're no longer requesting to rezone to R3. That's what,
Changing it.
right. That's what my concern is.
Yeah, it's potential that if it's R1, oh yeah.
Well, we could go either way and give him the option, right? We could postpone.
Well, the question is if
No,
you
absolutely. You could just say November and that's it. My fear is, having all these people come back in October to have a plan that's not quite
exactly.
ready and then we
It's not
haven't published for it. It seems fast. That said, the village always wants to work with the developer to process things quickly. We're sensitive to your
Well,
time
the thought,
constraints.
I mean, we've actually done final engineering. We know our stormwater works and meets all the codes. So really what we would do is come up with a modified site plan and where the basin would be and not redo final engineering. Because we would know internally it's going to work because we're technically asking for preliminary approval. So really what we got to do is come up with a revised site plan.
Okay.
But John, since we're asking for the two variances to go to R3 and we're going to.
We're talking about the lots to the south going from, those are R1 currently going to R1A.
Yes.
Correct.
So we'd have to publish for that.
Well, we're not, if we didn't change our application and basically showed you a revised plan that met those standards, then couldn't you do that by the vote?
No.
Got to republish.
All right, then we go
Yep.
really November then, right?
That's a significant enough change in what the underlying zoning is going to be that we'd have to publish notice for that.
Let's just,
Is going to be. So,
I myself, I'm in favor of asking for a postponement to November. There's just too much work, as far as I'm concerned, with publishing and everything else to be.
Because it's not going to help if you're going to go to October and she can't get it into the paper.
yeah,
Then it's,
It's a moot point at that
But
point.
then why isn't it just like Pathway, which is postponed on our agenda?
Because they didn't change their rezoning.
See, we're changing a request for rezoning.
Right.
I understand that, but so if he doesn't meet the deadline, then it shows up on the October one as.
Oh, it's
moved
just
to
being
November.
continued again.
That's what I'm saying.
So you're gonna take the shot at
And it's on
October.
the website, just like the village board stuff. That puts all the work in his, it gives him the option.
Yeah, I don't see any problem with that. Do you see any problem with that,
As long as
John?
that's correct. I don't see why it's not, but
Jill, when do we, let's see, so we got roughly a little under 15 days to get the publication notice put together? Although, no, we send it before that.
Right, I have to do it by next Friday.
Okay, so that's
you got
possible.
1 week.
And that's assuming he gets the go-ahead from his principals, from his, so that.
two principals are sitting right here.
Oh, okay.
We'll make a decision fairly quick.
All right, go to October, we'll see if it flies, and if not,
Continuing it again.
again, to the residents,
Pay attention.
pay attention. The planning and zoning agenda is on the website. This will be listed, so you can check that out. You're free to call the Community Development Department to find out what the status is. If something changes where this is going to have to be postponed again, we'll try to amend the agenda to state that this is going to be postponed to November because we didn't get everything done in time. If not, then assume it's going full steam ahead.
I would entertain a motion to table this until our October meeting.
So moved.
Second.
That's motion by Commissioner Pill, seconded by Commissioner Thomas. Question on the motion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Pill?
Yes.
Commissioner Fidesco?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes, and Chairman Richard?
Yes.
Benito Rosales. Mr. Richards, you mentioned something about the fact that there would be some sort of homeowners or association that would be taking care of this. Does that mean that, because I don't believe there's a homeowners association, am I correct? There is no homeowners except, in this area. You're talking about having an assessment from those people. Now, you're going from 15 down to maybe 8 or 9 buildings. So are they going to have to be responsible for taking care of the maintenance of this retention, the 2 retention ponds?
That's a very good possibility, yes, sir.
So just those 8, not the rest of the...
No, none of the others. It's
But-
only those that are,
Understand this, sir, we have closed the discussion on that until the next meeting.
Okay, because the young lady over here wanted to talk to you about something also.
Well, the public hearing's closed, so. Yeah. No, I agree. I'm usually with you, but once you voted, get your pen.
I see what you mean.
Thanks.
No.
Does state,
I had the black one, and that one,
It came from the drawer.
I left the black one, and then that one disappeared, then she brought it back.
No.
Jill,
Yes.
No, the meeting is not adjourned.
this meeting is not adjourned, folks.
Public hearing is closed.
Does staff have anything?
No. Thank
Board
you.
members have anything? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
second.
Motion by Commissioner Van Buren, seconded by Commissioner Fidesco. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.